People, is there still lots of people joining?
Nobody in the waiting room at the moment, so I think, yeah, maybe start when you're ready, and I'll just keep an eye on the room, just make sure let any people coming in last minute.
Okay, if we make a start then, so we don't keep everybody waiting. Morning everybody, thank you so much for joining us on this chilly, quite foggy where I am in West Sussex actually. For those of you who don't know, which I'm sure is many, I'm Laura, Operations Manager for Baldwins Travel. And I'm so pleased that we have the absolute expert Denise from Prestige with us this morning to talk all things Canada, which I'm sure all of us on this call could actually talk for hours on end. I love Canada personally. Holds a really special place in my heart, having travelled quite a few times to both the East Coast, to Newfoundland and Toronto, and over to the West. I've been to Canada, to Banff, and then I did the Rocky Mountaineer through to Vancouver, so I've been very lucky. And it's fair to say that it's the most spectacular place I've ever visited, and I always get the same feedback from clients that we arrange trips for. I have never had anybody come back even remotely underwhelmed. It's totally overwhelming. And so without further ado, I will hand you over to Denise for her presentation. Morning, Denise.
Morning, Laura. Morning, everybody, and thank you again for joining us this morning. So what we're going to do is take you on a visual across Canada trip. And at the end of it, we will have the opportunity for questions. If you have any, if you would like to just unmute yourself once we're at the end, I'm happy to answer any questions. But also the team at Baldwins are so experienced with Canada as well. So if I don't have your answers to or your questions today, all the girls at Baldwins and guys, of course, will be able to help you. So let's just a quick background about our Canada program. Basically, this is all we do in our Lowestoft office. I've actually lived in Canada. I'm a Canadian citizen. I've travelled extensively while I lived there and subsequently. So this is a country that's very close to my heart, and I hope to show you my passion as we go through the presentation. So let's get going. And why visit Canada? A big question, you know, second largest country in the world, so why go? And overwhelmingly, it's the spectacular scenery, incredible wildlife viewing, friendly locals. I hope I'm going to show that to you today, but seriously, the Canadians are so friendly, so welcoming. They love to show off their country to you. As I mentioned, it's the world's second largest country, so lots of opportunities for different experiences, different scenery, different people to meet, different cultures, and English spoken throughout. So as you probably know, Canada is a bilingual country, so the road signs, etc., are in English and French. And there's only one province which is bilingual by law, and that's New Brunswick. But yeah, Quebec is known as the French province, but wherever you go, you will have somebody speaking to you in English. Flying times, I think this is something that surprises people because the misconception is that it's a long way away, but you can get to Halifax in 6 hours, Montreal 7, Toronto 7.5, Calgary 8.5, and Vancouver. So although the Vancouver flight is 9 hours, by the time you've sat down, had a meal, watched a couple of movies, had a sleep, you know, it soon goes. So don't be put off by the flying times. You know, as much as I love Australia and New Zealand, you know, we're nothing like that as far as the flying distance. 4 very distinct seasons in Canada. So while I say the summer is short and hot, that's because it only really goes from mid-May to pretty well the end of September. But it really is very hot. I've been through the Okanagan region and seen 42 degrees pipe up on a display. So, and we do have couple of desert areas in Canada as well. So you know that it can get very hot. Can also get quite humid as well, especially out east around about August time. So you have to be prepared for a bit of humidity. Autumn, beautiful time to go, colourful and mild. You'll see on the image, bottom right hand, that's Ontario, and the fall colours in Ontario, Quebec, even a little bit into the Atlantic provinces, rival those of New England. And the joyful thing about the fall colours in Canada is that they're very accessible. Out west, we don't have the maples, which turn this beautiful colour, but there are golden larches. So in autumn, from September, October into early November, you will see the golden larch trees, and I'll show you an image of those a bit later on. Winter, sunny and cold, November to March. You're guaranteed snow if you're going to the Rockies or the ski hills, even some in Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, you'll have snow on the ground as well. And spring, great time to visit. Shoulder season, very reasonably priced, April to May. But one thing to bear in mind is that through the Rockies in April, the pricing is very competitive, but also the lakes may still be frozen because of the elevation. So, you know, travel early May is fine, mid-May, and you will see those beautiful colours that you can see in the Bow River in the middle image there. That's actually the Banff Springs Hotel and the Bow River in the foreground. So looking at the map of Canada, you can see that it's made up of a series of provinces and territories. And what we're going to be doing is going east to west, starting in the Atlantic provinces, ending in Alaska, which obviously is the USA, but because Vancouver is the departure point for a lot of Alaska cruises, we're just going to talk a little bit about the cruise market as well. So Atlantic Canada, as I mentioned, London to Halifax is only 6 hours flying time. It's got a maritime heritage, which you would expect from being on the Atlantic Ocean, Celtic and Acadian history, sea whales and icebergs. In June, off the coast of Newfoundland in a place called Iceberg Alley, you can actually see the icebergs as they're floating down from Greenland. And at the same time, the humpback whales are arriving as well to feed on the plankton, which is there as the waters warm up. Absolutely gorgeous coastal scenery as well. And if you love your seafood like I do, then you won't be disappointed with Atlantic Canada. So I've just highlighted the provinces which make up Atlantic Canada. So we've got Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Labrador and Newfoundland, and Prince Edward Island. And just some images just to show you how beautiful this area is. So if we start from the top left-hand image, that's the Cape Breton's National Highlands area and the world-famous Cabot Trail. You can see the scenery and you can see the road that you can drive along as well, which offers those spectacular views. The right-hand image is again the Cape Breton Highlands region, and this is known for some great moose viewing, so always a good chance of seeing moose in this area. Bottom right-hand image is of Halifax, and you can see the star-shaped building there. So Halifax is built on one of the largest natural harbours in the world, and the star-shaped building is the Citadel, which was built by the English as a fortification to watch out for the American ships coming down the river, down the ocean to invade the area. And the left-hand image at the bottom is the Fort of Louisbourg, which is on Nova Scotia as well, and it shows some of the history. And this is a living, working outdoor museum, if you like. So you can tell some of the heritage of the area with the British and American wars, also the French. So full of history, full of great scenery, and a wonderful province. This is Lunenburg, which is just a short drive away from the capital of Halifax. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and you can see it's a traditional fishing port, and all the houses have been restored. You can walk along the narrow streets and really get a feel for what a fishing port of Nova Scotia was like in years gone by. Peggy's Cove, as you would expect, the Atlantic provinces are full of lighthouses, and this is one of the most famous. Peggy's Cove, again, a short drive away from Nova Scotia. Stunning area to visit. You can see the granite the lighthouse is built on. Great ocean views, wonderful restaurant here serving lobster at a very reasonable price, and also a very pretty village as well, Peggy's Cove Village. And again, it still houses a small fishing fleet, mainly for lobster. Moving on to Prince Edward Island. Now, Prince Edward Island can be reached by ferry from Nova Scotia, or from New Brunswick, you cross the Confederation Bridge. It's Canada's smallest province, known for its red, sandy cliffs, and the soil is very rich. So this is a major producer of potatoes, but also the pretty fishing villages. Again, you can see the lobster pots on the right-hand side, the right-hand image. But also it's home to Green Gables. For any of you who know Lucy Maud Montgomery's books, Anne of Green Gables, you can visit the farmhouse made famous in her books, and also television programs and a movie. And that's at Cavendish, which is actually just a short drive from Charlottetown, the capital of Prince Edward Island. Newfoundland and Labrador, accessible by an overnight ferry from Nova Scotia, or there are direct flights into the capital as well. As I mentioned, great iceberg viewing here, but also puffins. You can see lots of puffins, seals, different types of whales, and it really makes for a great adventure. Newfoundland and Labrador is quite underrated as far as a province go. You can easily spend 7 to 10 nights self-driving around and seeing the most wonderful scenery, such as Grouse Mourne National Park on the left-hand image. It's one of the world's largest, longest natural fjords. And the pretty town of St. John's on the right-hand image, lovely, colourful, which, you know, really the colourful houses you can see throughout the Atlantic provinces. New Brunswick, accessible from Nova Scotia, again by ferry, Digby. You can cross over a short ferry across the Bay of Fundy, or there are flights available as well. New Brunswick is known. So the Bay of Fundy has the world's highest tides, and as a result, at low tide, you can walk along the beach and see these rock formations which have been carved by the high tides. At high tide, you can kayak around them as well. So, you know, the Bay of Fundy has a record number of 22 species of whales which visit in the summer. So whale watching is a great treat from New Brunswick. And just to give you an idea, you can see the humpback whale, and you can see them, if you're lucky, just from the coast of the province. And as well, on the left-hand image, that's St. Andrews by the Sea, where the whale watching departs from, and it's a lovely seaside town, not commercialised in any shape or form, and great place to spend a couple of nights relaxing, going on a whale watching expedition. And also the whale watching is done by tall ship, which makes it quite unique. So we've had a quick look at the Atlantic provinces, and we now come to Quebec. As I said, we're moving from east to west. So a little bit about the province of Quebec. It's Canada's oldest and largest province. Quebec City is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Montreal is the world's second largest French-speaking city. You can go whale watching on the St. Lawrence River, which is a huge surprise for a lot of people. And it's also home to the Montreal Grand Prix, which takes place every June. A couple of images about Montreal. The attraction of the city is the architecture. You can see the cobblestone streets, you can see the old buildings, see how warm and sunny and pleasant it is. It's a very walkable city. Certainly recommend minimum 2, preferably 3 nights here to see all the attractions of the city. And again, another image of it, and you can see everybody's in shorts and t-shirts. It shows how warm it is. It's got these outdoor patio areas for eating and having a drink, and just a nice spot to sit and watch the world go by. Quebec City. This is one of my favourite places, I must admit. It's a walled city, so it's the only walled city in North America, full of, again, history and architecture. The left-hand image is the Pâté Champlain, which is a shopping district, a restaurant district, but you can see there's no big names. You won't find a McDonald's here, you won't find a Burger King, nothing like this. This is all small boutique shops and local restaurants. And the right-hand image is the Fairmont Chateau Frontenac Hotel, which dominates the landscape of Quebec City. Quebec City is the provincial capital, so here are the provincial buildings. Again, it's all about the architecture and the history of this area. And each province in Canada has a selection of resorts and lodges, so you don't have to spend all your time in the city. This one is one of my favourites. It's called Sakakomi Lodge, and it's 1.5 hours drive from either Quebec City or Montreal. So if you're flying home from Montreal, it makes a great spot to spend 2 or 3 nights relaxing, overlooking Sakakomi Lake. The forest area you can see over here is a wildlife preserve. So there's no hunting or fishing in that area. And from Sakakomi, you can go on a black bear viewing excursion, or you can see beavers as well. There's lakes in here that you can see beaver. On the lake itself, there's kayaks and canoes as well. I think this is a great spot for families to relax and rest after a fairly busy itinerary. Just another couple of views. So you've got the outside dining area and the hot tubs, which all overlook the lake. And while there's a host of resorts in every province, as I said, I'm just going to give you an indication of some of my favourites. I'm going to move on to Ontario. Now, the thing with Ontario and Quebec is they make a perfect 14-night itinerary for anybody who wants to see Toronto, Niagara Falls, but also wants the history of Montreal and Quebec City. This really does, the two provinces really do link together to form a perfect 14, 16-night itinerary. Or likewise, you can actually link the Atlantic provinces with Quebec as well. You can see New Brunswick here in the corner. It borders Quebec. So you can do some of the Atlantic provinces and link with Quebec, or Ontario and Quebec make a great itinerary as well. So Ontario, you can visit Ottawa, which is Canada's capital. Niagara Falls, one of the world's natural wonders. Cosmopolitan Toronto, it rivals New England really mainly because it's theatre district. It has the third largest theatre district in the world after the UK, London and New York. So a lot of the Broadway shows will debut in Toronto first and get used to performing together before moving onto Broadway. The Niagara region, as well as having the falls, it has a great wine producing region, lots of spas and stunning golf courses. And as I mentioned, in autumn, you can see those spectacular colours. Now, the very best views of Toronto are not seen from the downtown area, but across on the Toronto Island. So there's a ferry which will take you across to the island, and it costs about $7 or $8. My recommendation for anybody visiting Toronto would be to make sure you go across to the island for the very best views of the downtown core, including the CN Tower and the Rogers Centre. So here is where the baseball is played. So if you're there in the summer, you can go and watch a baseball game. It's got a retractable roof, so rain or shine, the baseball takes place. Also on this island, there's a restaurant, there's a beach, it's got a swimming beach, it's got a children's play area, it's got boardwalks, cycle rentals. So you could easily spend half a day over there and just relaxing. And the right-hand image is the CN Tower. It's one I took, so I'm not sure, you know, you have to sort of look at it from an angle, but this is what I'm saying, to get a really good image of it, you do need to be across on the island. Niagara Falls, only an hour and a half's drive from Toronto. So you can drive it, or you can take a full day sightseeing excursion. The falls themselves can be seen by helicopter, by land, by the boat cruise, which you can see on the right-hand image, or the left-hand. If you want to get very up close and personal, you can walk along a series of passages and go behind the falls. So just the edge of the falls, you can actually walk behind them. And it's an excursion called Journey Behind the Falls. Guaranteed to get wet, regardless of whether you do the boat, well, if you've got front on the boat, or if you do Journey Behind the Falls. And the region around Niagara, just 30 minutes drive away along the Niagara Parkway, is this very pretty town called Niagara-on-the-Lake. Famous as the centre for the wine producing area, but also some, it's just a really pretty place. If you want to be away from the hustle and bustle of Niagara Falls itself, then I do recommend Niagara-on-the-Lake. And this is one of the main hotels you can see, that's the Prince of Wales. Very traditional, older town. Again, no big brand names here, but lots of nice. It's a very pretty town, lots of flower displays. It's on the lake, as I mentioned, so you can walk around the lake. In fact, there's a hotel called the Queen's Landing, which has lake views. So just a nice spot. And there is a way, if you don't have a car, you can take a local transportation system between Niagara Falls and Niagara-on-the-Lake. So it's very accessible. Moving on to the nation's capital, which is Ottawa. Easily reached by train from Toronto, even Quebec City or Montreal. So when I was saying about doing Ontario and Quebec together, you can get around the major cities by train if you didn't want to drive yourself. Ottawa is dominated by the Parliament buildings as the nation's capital, so you have the changing of the guards here. But really, its claim to fame, as far as I'm concerned, is the Rideau Canal, which is UNESCO World Heritage Site. So this is the Rideau Canal, which is joined by a series of locks, and it eventually ends up in the Ottawa River. Here, there's a wonderful museum, very small museum, which celebrates the building of the canal and the number of people who passed away building it. It wasn't very generous as far as people's mortality, but you know, the building of it really was a monumental task. And today it's celebrated, as I mentioned, as being a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So as well as cruising on the Ottawa River, you can also take a cruise on the Rideau Canal itself as well. But again, the best views of perhaps downtown Ottawa are from the river. Resorts and lodges again in Ontario. I've just highlighted this one on the left. That's Elmhurst Resort. It's located just over an hour's drive northeast of Toronto. It's family owned and offers great lakeside or lake activities for the family. And also all the accommodation is in cottages which are around the lake itself. Has a really well-known restaurant. They produce all their own food. They have their own chickens, the cows. So you're guaranteed a good food here as well. But because the cottages are self-catering, you can look after yourself as well. Again, nice for couples, but if you've got a family, 4 or 5 nights there, hot sunny days, the kids will love it. And there's also an indoor swimming pool. I'm going to go on to Manitoba, which is one of my favourite areas, and that's because of the wildlife. So you can visit Churchill and get up close to the polar bears. Amazing northern lights viewing, the Aurora Borealis. You can see beluga whales at Churchill, and I'll talk about those in a minute. There's also Riding Mountain National Park, where there's bear and buffalo and a variety of wildlife there. some great fishing. This has so many lakes with world-class fishing, and also you can visit the Royal Canadian Mint and see how money is made. So Churchill is primarily known as the polar bear capital of the world. And here we have autumn bear viewing. So the polar bears in October to middle of November are waiting for the sea ice to freeze so they can go out and hunt. But in the meantime, they're hovering around the town of Churchill, just waiting for the ice to form. And you can go out on a tundra buggy like this. It's in an area called the Churchill Wildlife Management Area, which is well known for the bears sort of congregating, as I say, ready to go out and hunt for the seals. And they really do come up and onto the buggy like this. They're very inquisitive. They have a fantastic sense of smell, so they know you're there before you even see them. And they come to see you, to watch you watching them. And I can guarantee this isn't staged. I've been lucky enough to do the polar bear viewing, and this is exactly what you see. You may not see three at once, but you certainly will see one at least come up like this. And you see how tall this vehicle is, because these bears, when they stand on the hind legs, can be 10 feet tall. So amazing Northern Lights viewing, as I mentioned. I was lucky enough in Churchill to stand outside the hotel 1 a.m. one morning and to see the Northern Lights from the city. And it's certainly a sight to behold. I mentioned about the beluga whales. So in the summer, around 60,000 beluga whales come into the Hudson Bay area to feed, to mate, to have their babies. And around 3,500 of those will come into the Churchill River estuary, which is just by the town of Churchill. So you can go on a whale watching expedition. You can hear them. They'll put a microphone or into the water, so you can hear the canaries of the sea talking to each other. They are like the polar bears. They are very inquisitive. They will come to you. And also, I should mention that in the summer, I've never had anybody who hasn't seen a polar bear not at the same time as seeing the belugas, but on the coast as you're going out on the boat. The chances are you will see an odd polar bear on the rocks, trying to stay cool. It's not their favourite time of year, because obviously they've got that really heavy coat and they want to be on the ice, but you do get a chance to see them on the rocks or in the summer flowers. We're going to miss out Saskatchewan unless you've got family. I really have never had anybody visit Saskatchewan, so we're going to move straight on to Alberta now, which I class as my second home. I was lucky enough to live in Calgary for 13 years and absolutely adore the Western provinces. Well, there's nothing about Canada I don't love, but I consider this to be like my other home. The appeals about Alberta are the majestic Rocky Mountain scenery, Banff and Jasper National Parks. One of the few places in the world where you can walk on the surface of a glacier, but certainly the most accessible glacier to walk on in the world. Some amazing wildlife viewing. You've got Calgary, which is home to the famous Stampede, otherwise known as the greatest outdoor show in the world. Got Rocky Mountaineer stations at Banff, Lake Louise and Jasper. Got Indigenous culture and, of course, world-class skiing and outdoor activities. So just a little bit about Calgary. Now, Calgary is, as you can see from the left-hand image, a very modern city. It's about 130 years old. The architecture is all very new, very modern, very clean, very crisp. But if you want to get up and close and personal to how a heritage town was in the 1800s, you can visit Heritage Park, which is within the city limits. And as you can see, you can take a horse-drawn carriage ride. You can visit the bakery and sample bread as it used to be made. You can see an RCMP outpost. You can go to a drugstore and see how it would be set up. You can go to the newspaper place and see a newspaper being printed. And also you can ride on a steam train that goes around the park as well, and it's all part of the entrance ticket. So really, if you're in Calgary, I do recommend Calgary, the Heritage Park to you. The Calgary Stampede is held annually in July, and as I said, it's mentioned, it's rated as the greatest outdoor show in the world. So in the afternoon, we have the rodeo events, including bull riding, bareback riding, what else? God, my mind's gone blank. Barrel racing, ladies barrel racing, boys or young children, they will do some bull riding as well. And then in the evening, you have the chuck wagon races, followed by an evening grandstand show, which features some of the top artists in Canada taking part. And every night ends with a fantastic firework display. I recommend 2 full days to visit the Stampede. So the first day you would do the afternoon rodeo and perhaps wander around at night to get the feel. The next day you would go and you would do the second day you would look around the exhibits, because there's what they have farm animal pens, they have marching show bands, so all kinds of activities taking part outside of the demonstration area, if you like. And then in the evening do the chuck wagon races. Another reason for visiting a Stampede and taking your time while you're there is there's 7 Indigenous peoples who live around the Stampede or around Calgary. So we would call them tribes. I'm not sure whether that's officially correct anymore, but they come together at the Stampede to celebrate their heritage. They set up a camp. It's the Elbow River Camp, literally because it's right by the Elbow River. And you can see teepees. You can be invited in to walk inside the teepee. They will talk to you about what the paintings on the outside of the teepee demonstrate or predict. They have this dancing. They will cook bannock for you. It's a real celebration of the Indigenous people of Alberta. And Banff. This image never fails to raise my spirits. So this is Banff Avenue, the main street in Banff National Park, or Banff itself, and it's dominated by Rundle Mountain in the background there. I think the town of Banff, it's the appeal of Banff is that it is literally surrounded by mountains. Plus you've got, you're walking, this is the a bridge over the Elbow River, or the Bow River, that one's the Bow River. So, it's a beautiful place to spend a few nights just getting out and about. But also Banff itself has some good boutique shops. It has couple of wonderful museums, and you can go horseback riding from here. You can do hiking, wealth of outdoor activities. The right-hand image shows the Banff Gondola going up to the summit of Sulphur Mountain. And here's the view when you're up there. So again, you can see how warm it is. Often you'll see blue jays up here, chipmunks, and there's mountain sheep, which usually are on the scrounge for food around up here as well. There's a great hike you can do from the summit of Sulphur Mountain as well. But the views from here are sensational. You've got 6 mountain ranges which dominate. So full circle, walk around the top, the summit, and you'll see the 6 mountain ranges. So here we have the town of Banff. Down here, you've got the Bow River. You've got Banff Springs here as well. You can see the golf course, the Banff Springs Golf Course. Just a wonderful time spent, at least 2-3 hours up there. So Banff National Park was founded in the 1800s because of the hot springs. This isn't the original hot springs, but the 2 fur traders saw some steam rising out of the mountains and went to investigate, and they found these hot springs. The Canadian government then took over management of it and made it into the first national park in Canada. And then later this hot springs pool was built, and this is actually at the summit, at the base of Sulphur Mountain. So where you board the gondola, this is about a 5-minute walk, and whatever time of year, it's a great spot to relax in the natural hot springs. I especially liked it when I lived there in winter. So everywhere was snowy and cold, but you got in this really hot water. It's just like jumping or walking into a bath. Moving on from Banff, we have Lake Louise. This is only an hour's drive away. Again, you can easily drive it. There's sightseeing excursions which will take you there. So Lake Louise, one of the most photographed lakes in the world, dominated by the Victoria Glacier at the end, and the Fairmont Chateau, Lake Louise at the other end, and soaring mountains all around. From Lake Louise to Jasper, the road is called the Icefields Parkway, and this is rated as one of the top 10 drives in North America. The only traffic jam you're going to come across is when what's known as a bear jam. If there's a bear on the side of the road or a moose or something, that's the only time you'll get into a traffic jam. But every turn of the road reveals a different vista. It is just one of the most stunning drives, something to do very leisurely if you're driving yourself. If not, there are sightseeing transfers which stop en route at all the sightseeing spots as well. So if you don't want to drive it, there's certainly a way of getting to Jasper. Just a few things along the way. So this is Bow Lake with the Bow Glacier in the background. En route, as I mentioned, you can walk on the surface of the Athabasca Glacier. So this is the Columbia ice fields, made up of 22 glaciers, but this is the Athabasca Glacier, and here you can walk on the surface on an organised ride on this Ice Explorer vehicle. And the right-hand image is the Glacier Skywalk, which is a glass circular or semicircular extension from the mountains which overlooks the Sunwalter Valley. Athabasca Falls on the way as well. So you had the Athabasca Glacier. This is the Athabasca River. And then after about a 5-hour drive, 6-hour drive, depending on how many stops you make, you reach the small mountain resort of Jasper in Jasper National Park. So you've got the town centre, which is much smaller than Banff, much more personal than Banff, not as commercialised either. Just a nice place for a couple of days. The right-hand image is Mount Edith Cavell, and you can see the flowers out in the summer. You can see the glacier there as well. So there's great hiking, there's whitewater rafting, there's float trips. There's a host of activities in Jasper for outdoor lovers. One of the attractions as well is the Jasper Tramway, which takes you to the summit of Whistler Mountain, so named because of the marmot. There's a marmot that makes this area its home, and they whistle. When they talk to each other, they whistle. So it's the whistling marmot, and this is the Whistler's Mountain, the Whistler Mountain. And I wanted just to show you the right-hand image, because this is one I took of a black bear and a cub, just to show you how you can see wildlife. You know, it's not just us telling you the wildlife is there. You can actually see it. And other animals you can see are mountain goat, mountain sheep, moose, elk, deer. There are coyote in this area. There's wolves as well. So a host of animals. Keep your eyes peeled and keep your camera handy. One of the excursions from Jasper is Malign Lake Cruise. So the road I took that photo of, the black bear, actually leads to here. So this is the end of the road. You can only do this, see this lake really in its entire, well, as much as possible by boat. You can stand at the end and see a little bit, but to actually get these views, you need to do the Malign Lake Cruise. Again, another great photography stop. And I don't really show that many images of properties, hotels and that, because everybody has their own, you know, their own wish list as to the type of property they like to stay in. But this is one of my favourites, and this is the Fairmont Jasper Park Lodge, which is just outside the Jasper town site. But if you want somewhere special to stay for 2 or 3 nights, then I do recommend this. It's on its own lake. So again, you've got canoeing and kayaking, often elk around this area as well. It's got an amazing golf course. It's got an outdoor swimming pool. So a lovely spot for families. I have to say it comes at a premium price, but for a special stay, I do recommend it. Moving on to British Columbia. So Vancouver is the gateway city for Alaska cruisers and also Rocky Mountaineer. Amazing wildlife viewing, including grizzly, spirit bear, whales. Some great scenery as well, a host of different scenic opportunities from mountain, ranch lands, coast that's also got a desert. And it's got the world-renowned ski resorts, including Whistler, Sun Peaks. It's got some smaller ski resorts if you didn't want the larger Whistler mountain. Vancouver itself, always rated as one of the top cities in the world to live in. So you've got the downtown core, which as you can see is very walkable. If you started at one end and walked across, it would take you, perhaps an hour. It's really not a large downtown core, but again, so much to see and do. So here you've got, I've lost my mouse. You've got the sports stadium here where the BC Lions play and also the Vancouver Whitecaps. It doubles up as a music venue as well. And then here you've got Stanley Park, which is the largest green space in any city outside of North America, outside of New York. And here you've got the coastal mountains. And if you wanted to drive along here, that would lead you eventually to Whistler. Two attractions in Vancouver itself are Grouse Mountain and Capilano Suspension Bridge. At Grouse Mountain, you reach it by a gondola, and there's a couple of bears up there, and there's also birds of prey show, lumberjack show, lots to see and do. And here as well, you've got the Capilano Suspension Bridge over the Capilano River. Another view of downtown Vancouver. So this is the Granville Island Market where the locals go to shop. And I recommend this as a great spot for lunch. Inside the market, there's a host of food stalls ranging from fish and chips, pizza, Chinese, Japanese, got bakery. It's got all kinds of food concessions. So nice place to buy your lunch and then sit outside. It's a big area out here to sit outside. Vancouver itself, on the right-hand image, is the totem poles at Stanley Park. And the left-hand image, I just wanted to show you this because the cruise terminal is right downtown. So, really, if you want to cruise from Vancouver, you're right in the heart of it. From the furthest hotel, it's probably a 10-minute taxi ride. Going across to the island by coach and ferry, we're now in Victoria, which is the capital of British Columbia. One of the great things to do here is just to wander this inner harbour area. There's a seawall which goes all the way around, and watch the float planes come in to land and take off. The Bouchard Gardens, over 100 years old. This is a disused quarry, which is now a famous garden area. Anybody who loves the gardens, just nice spot for 2 or 3 hours wandering around, and they also serve a fantastic afternoon tea. Every Saturday night in the summer as well, they host a fireworks display. Victoria itself is perhaps best known for its wildlife viewing, the whale watching. There's 3 resident pods of orca, which call this area home. They don't often come together, but if they do, it's called a super pod. But generally, you will see anything between 2 and 6, possibly 8 orca at a viewing. Other wildlife you'll see on that wildlife adventure is bald eagles, sea lions, seals, sea otters, a host of other seabirds as well. And while we're on Vancouver Island, I just wanted to show you Tofino, because this is a great spot on the Pacific coast for black bear viewing and whale watching. I'm just showing you a couple of properties here. So this is the 5-star Relane Chateau property, Wickeninish Inn, and this is the Long Beach Lodge. And this is view of the Pacific Rim National Park. It is just amazing. And all these beaches, there's, they all have little access points to them, so you can go and, wander along a beach without anybody there really. But each of the hotels have their own area of beach. So Long Beach Lodge is located on Long Beach. Wickeninish Inn is located on Chesterman Beach. So even from the hotels you can get beach access. The area is famous for Pacific grey whales and humpback whales, so you can take a whale watching cruise. And also there's lots of black bear on Vancouver Island, and at low tide they come out of the forest to feast on the shellfish around the coastline, so you can take a black bear viewing excursion too. There's also hot springs around this area, and there's a rainforest to wander to. So 3-4 nights here, you wouldn't be disappointed. Moving back across to the mainland now, we're in Whistler, which is 1.5 hours drive from Vancouver. As you can see, the ski hills are here, but it's got a pedestrianised village, and in the summer, there's so many activities for the family. For instance, there's the Peak to Peak gondola, which is the longest horizontal gondola in the world, and also you've got the regular gondola here. The one thing about this gondola is it actually goes over the ski hills, and in the summer you'll often see black bear wandering around there. There's Whistler is home to about 60 black bear, so good chance of seeing them because they come to feed on the clover and the flowers. So there we go, that's one taken from the gondola. But also for the family, there's zip lining, there's canoeing, kayaking, whitewater rafting, mountain biking, a host of activities. Again, in British Columbia, there's ranches and resorts to choose from. The left-hand image is Emerald Lake Lodge, which is actually closer to Lake Louise than it is to Vancouver, but it's still in British Columbia. Tyaks Resort, which is about 1 hour's drive, 1.5 hours drive from Whistler. Another great spot for families. As you can see, lots of sailboats and lakeside activities, but also lots of bear around this area as well, and other wildlife. You can go gold dredging here as well. Sonora Resort, which really I think is very much an adult only. It's a 5-star all-inclusive property, but for couples, if you want a nice break, you can only reach it by water taxi or float plane or helicopter. I just wanted to mention the Okanagan region because this is where I said to you I saw temperatures of 42 degrees, and the reason the wines and orchards grow so well here is because of the heat. Bear viewing lodges, take your pick. My favourite is Night Inlet Lodge, but we've also got Spirit Bear Lodge, Farewell Harbour Lodge, Grizzly Bear Ranch and the Great Bear Ranch. And what we're looking for here is the mighty grizzly bear. This is the Night Inlet Lodge where you arrive by float plane. And in summer, you do the viewing by boat because the bears are feeding on the sedges and grasses, which are very rich in protein. And in autumn, you view from these hides and you're looking for bear feeding on salmon. Alaska Cruises. I'm not going to go into too much detail because your contacts at Baldwin's know exactly who we work with, but we work with every major cruise line operating out of Vancouver, well, and Seattle for that matter, but for this purposes of today, from Vancouver. And this is Glacier Bay. This is the type of scenery you can expect to see while on the cruise. We've mentioned briefly about the Rocky Mountaineer. So the Rocky Mountaineer travels between Vancouver to Jasper, Lake Louise and Banff. So we are one of the market leaders in selling Rocky Mountaineer. And again, your team at Baldwin's know all about the Rocky Mountaineer. And Laura mentioned she'd experienced it. So I'm not going to go too much detail other than showing you the map where it travels to. I'm going to whet your appetite just with the images of it. So the right-hand image is the Gold Leaf Dome car, and you can see the beautiful, views you're going to get from it. The Gold Leaf Dining. So from the upstairs, you sit and watch the scenery go by, and downstairs you're in this amazing dining car where silver service. Silver Leaf service. Again, don't be put off. Yes, Gold Leaf is the top service, but as you can see, you've got some great views on here as well. Large picture windows, meals are served to your seat. And here's the type of scenery you're going to see. So this is a Silver Leaf. These are the Silver Leaf carriages. These are the gold leaf. So you've got the upstairs viewing area and the downstairs dining car. But this is typical of the scenery along the way. Oh, and I should just say, these are the golden larches changing colour in September. When you think of all these bridges and these tracks, how long ago they were built, it's just an amazing feat of engineering. If you want to sleep on board the train, there's also Via Rails, the Canadian, which travels between Vancouver and Jasper, and actually goes all the way to Toronto if you want to sleep on board for 4 nights. But so there is another option, another rail option. Getting around Canada, again, your team at Baldwin's knows that we do self-drive car rental, the Via Rail, motorhomes, transfers. You can float plane, there's ferry services. There's so many ways of getting around. We work with all the major airlines to Canada. Why book with Prestige Holidays? We are an award-winning company, expert product knowledge, and most importantly, and we are 100% fine, your money is 100% financially protected. We offer a complete tailor-made service to create your perfect holiday. With the COVID situation, we do have a book with confidence policy, and again, Baldwin's has all this information for you. We provide a comprehensive documentation kit, including a day-by-day itinerary, driving maps, luggage labels, everything you need to ensure that when you get to Canada, you have all the information to hand for your holiday. You don't have to worry about what you're doing tomorrow or where you need to be. It will all be documented here. And these are individually made by our team, by our admin team for every client. They're not mass produced. It's individual to you. And Baldwin's Travel, how to connect with your team at Baldwin's. And that concludes my presentation. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this visual presentation of Canada. And of course, if there's anything more that Baldwin's can help you with, or any questions I can answer, we're all available to help you. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to me.
Thank you, Denise. Oh my goodness, I don't even know where to start. That was just awesome, totally inspiring. And it's made me just think I've still got about 100 places in Canada on my list.
And me.
One of the things that I thought was really interesting was looking at the seasons and how massively changeable they are. I remember when, just to share with you, when we went to Banff, which was just, I just loved Banff, everything about it. We went right at the end of September, and I woke up on the 1st of October to 3 inches of snow. It was absolutely amazing to see the two real differences in such a short sort of few days was crazy. Just to tell you a little bit about what we are currently doing at Baldwin's at the moment. So our teams are working. They are there to take your inquiries, to answer your questions about any holidays for the end of this year or next year, if that's what you're looking at, or even 2022. They are currently working behind closed doors in the branches. You'll probably see as you're out and about in your high street, just really for yours and their safety. And they are working Monday to Friday, 10 till 4. So in the first instance, we would urge you to call or email us for a chat. However, we have been meeting our clients for one-to-one appointments in the branches. It's just nice if we organise it and then we can facilitate it the right way for you and have the information that you might need. We have got a special offer off the back of this with Prestige. So if you are to book any Canada package trip with Prestige before the end of January, so anytime from today before the end of January, then we would offer you £50 discount per person. Really just to say a big thank you for joining us this morning. And yes, if anybody's got any questions, you can type them in at the bottom and we can unmute you and see if you've got any questions. But I don't think there's any that have come through. I think Denise has done a fine job of covering every subject that we need. As I said, there is the number there for you, and we have a general inquiries email address, which is inquiries@baldwins-travel.co.uk. But I'm sure most of you actually know people within the branches, so just contact them on the normal telephone number or email address that you generally use, and they will get in touch with you ASAP. thank you everybody for joining us this morning. We really appreciate the time, and thanks again, Denise. It's been inspirational.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, and just to add my thank yous as well. I know I do tend to get carried away sometimes with how I talk, but you know, I hope I've inspired you and given you some ideas for your holiday to Canada anyway.
Absolutely.
Denise, there is a question that's come in.
Okay.
Do you know when the Stampede tickets are going on sale for next year? And that's from Hannah.
Yeah, they're just waiting to be released now. We expect them hopefully before Christmas, but if not, it will be shortly after Christmas. They are being released in stages right now, because I believe there is some, you know, they are going to be monitoring the numbers, but yeah, it's imminent.
Brilliant. Thank you. Lots of people saying thank you, Denise. That's very kind. Excellent. Thank you very much, everybody. Nice to see you.
Oh, Denise, sorry, there's one more question. Can Prestige arrange trips to Montreal F1 Grand Prix?
Yes, we can, most certainly. Yeah, we do a few every year for clients. So yeah, we can certainly do the Grand Prix. The one thing we're not allowed to do is, actually, I should just specify that we're not allowed to buy the tickets, because in Canada, if you buy tickets, you have to pick them up with the credit card it was paid with, because they're very keen on stopping ticket touts getting the tickets. So even if you want to see a baseball game, we're not allowed anymore to pre-book them for you. So yeah, you have to book your own Grand Prix tickets, but we can certainly do the flights and the accommodation.
Well, any other questions at all? I think that looks as though that might be all the questions for now. As I said, if you've got any more questions, please do get in touch with your local branches. I'm sure that everybody will be able to help you with any extra things you need to know. Oh, yeah, you said lovely, some photos. Fab. Thank you ever so much, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.